In modern times, watches are largely considered status symbols. Gone are the times where people needed watches to be able to tell the time. The reality is, in the developed world, most people have a cell phone in their pocket that can tell them the time accurately and on demand. Watches have transcended into more of a hobby or a status symbol as opposed to a utility. Having worked in the watch industry for so long now, coming across thousands of my fellow watch collectors out there, I've noticed some things about watches, the specific watches, and the people that wear them. And rarely is there a correlation between what the watch the person is wearing and the bank account. Though there are some things about watches that are maybe not always true, but more of a stereotype, or there's an increased likelihood that these things are going to be true for the wearer. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 watches or types of watches or brands and the overall perception that come with them. Now, once again, this isn't any kind of clickbait or rage bait or triggering. So, if you are easily offended, I'd love to see it and hear it in the comments below, but please don't get offended. This is just something I've noticed working with so many collectors over the years about the watches and what they mean for the wearer. And it's not always the size of the bank account. But before I do that, guys, I would really appreciate it if you check out my new platform where you can buy and sell watches, 0 fees, 0 commissions right now, chronograbs.com, where you can find watches like this AP Royal Oak, like this awesome Ming at a good deal, this Laurent Ferrier offered up by Del Rey Watch at a considerable discount if purchased on the Chronograbs platform, and so many others. So please, I would appreciate it if you go over to chronograbs.com and you can sign up for a free account, because we will be giving away a substantial watch. I've said that in the last 2 videos, but now it's actually on my list of things to do. We're going to be giving away a cool watch, so you want to make sure to sign up for the list over there, and I promise not to spam you. So the first watch we're going to be talking about is the modern Rolex Daytona with the ceramic bezel. Now, there's so many different Daytonas and models that you could really choose from in this product category from Rolex, but the reality is there's generally 2 types of Rolex Daytona wearers. There's the casual buyer that just wants to have the Daytona because it's hot, it's desirable, and it's coveted, but there's also going to be the Daytona buyer that actually likes the Daytona for what it is. It's a reliable, durable chronograph coming from Rolex, a top-tier blue chip brand that has that rugged reliability, noticeability, brand cachet behind it, and also it's just a quality watch. So the Rolex Daytona, I can't knock people for wearing it if they like it, but if people are just buying it because others like it and they're jumping on the bandwagon, that's something I typically don't advise, because I always recommend to people over the years, buy what you're going to wear and enjoy, and not just what everyone else wants you to wear. So next, that takes us into Omega, one of my favorite brands, and we'll talk about either the Omega Seamaster or the Omega Speedmaster. I myself today am wearing an Omega Speedmaster, though the ceramic gray side, awesome watch, but generally the Omega wearers or collectors still like the quality of something like a Rolex, still like that kind of the brand value that comes behind it, right? They don't want to take a massive hit on their watches as soon as they walk out of the door. Maybe they shop around and get a good deal, but generally an Omega wearer is someone that likes the quality at a better bang for buck. You can get watches at the same price point as Rolex retail, but at a bit of a higher quality, although Rolex is doing a little bit more in terms of finishing their movements and giving you display casebacks like we've seen in their Landweller lineup today. But overall, the Omega Seamaster or Speedmaster wearer, in my opinion, has a little bit more of a chance of being a collector like us, less of a casual wearer, and is looking for good bang for buck in a Swiss watch that is not brand new or a micro brand. That takes us into the Tissot PRX. If you're wearing a Tissot PRX, it's very likely that you've spent way too much time on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube watching videos about the best bang for buck watches under $500, because that's where the Tissot PRX comes in. Gives you that integrated design, look and feel, nice quality movement, not a base ETA. They upgraded it with their Powermatic line, and it overall is a solid, durable watch, which is why so many people recommend it at under the $1,000 and under the $500 price point. There's different versions that go up and down in price, but generally the Tissot PRX wearer is someone that's done their homework. That takes us into FP Journe. If you're wearing an FP Journe, it's unlikely you're a casual wearer. You can't just walk in generally and buy an FP Journe. Maybe if you're Ed Sheeran, sure, you can do that. But if you're Ed Sheeran, you're also a seasoned and experienced watch collector as well. So the thing with FP Journe wearers is they have generally gotten the Patek Philippe's, they've got the Vacherons, and they want a high-end independent manufacturer that's going to be delivering the subtle nuances, the polishing on the underside of the screws, the very well-decorated movements with the multiple finishes. They want this prestige level that's not seen in more mass-produced watches, but they still want some type of community and notability or notoriety within a niche or a segment of the watch collecting sphere of people that also agree with them on their opinions, and the opinion being that FP Journe makes a very high-end, sophisticated watch. That takes us into micro brands. Now, there's so many micro brands out there, but unless you clicked on an advertisement on Facebook or Instagram, or you saw an ad on a YouTube video, it's also likely that you've done your homework with micro brands. Micro brands offer value by cutting out various forms of the supply chain or the marketing budgets to deliver a quality watch at a lower price than their counterparts from better-known Swiss brands. Sometimes they're made in similar factories. Some of the parts are, maybe in the entirety of the watches. I've talked about that in past videos I've done. We won't get into it today. But micro-brand wearers generally are a little bit more nuanced, and they value bang for buck, something I talk about on this channel all the time. I myself have been a big fan of different micro brands like Sphera, which you can also see on chronographs.com, and so many others. So microbrand wearers is the type of person, a little more sophisticated, nuanced in their buying decisions, and they value horological bang for buck. Now, the AP Royal Oak, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, there's different versions out there, but generally the Royal Oak buyer today is more of a casual buyer. They see these on the wrists of celebrities, businessmen, popular people, and they say, hey, that is what I should aspire to get. No longer is Rolex kind of that top brand for casual buyers. It's become Audemars Piguet with the various different collaborations like Cause, and they've done some of the superhero watches and so on and so forth. They have John Mayer essentially repping them, Ed Sheeran. So this is kind of the hot pop culture brand and model to be in right now. So generally when I see an AP Royal Oak wearer, that is what is thought of. You're willing to spend quite a lot of money depending on the watch because some of these still trade over retail, but this is generally someone that wants the AP because they want to be part of the AP group of people wearing them. Now, Grand Seiko buyers and collectors are totally different. They like the intricate designs on the dials. Now they've gotten into more sophisticated movements with their Evolution 9 lineup and some of their spring drives, so it's become a lot more focused on movements than where it was when they came out with their Heritage line originally with the 4 seasons. Now they've got endless amounts of seasons, like it never ends, endless amounts of fields and streams to kind of model the dials after, but people like that. That's what people are going to Grand Seiko for. They don't need kind of the prestige of these high-end Swiss brands to get in the way of their fun and their collecting experience. And there's a Grand Seiko community with the GS9 Club. I've got friends in it. They love it. They love to be part of something a little bit different without sometimes this air of pretentiousness or snobbiness that some people just don't like in watches. I totally get it that, you know, if you're going to spend your hard-earned money on something, you want to be treated in a certain way. I understand that, and that's the Grand Seiko collector in a nutshell. Now, we have to talk about Richard Mille. If you're wearing one of these, generally, it's 2 types of people. You have more dollars than cents, as they say, or potentially you have so much money you just don't care. There were some collectors in the Richard Mille space. There's been a pullback in the values of a lot of these watches, and it's not as hot as what it was in the peak of the market, but nonetheless, a lot of these still trade over retail. It's hard to know sometimes what the retails are because these watches are so coveted and desirable by a lot of people like in the royal families or people of extreme amounts of wealth that do collect these things and throw them in the back of their sock drawer. So if you're wearing a Richard Mille, you may be a watch geek or a watch nut, but it's unlikely to see a Richard Mille in the collection of someone also wearing a Seiko. It's generally someone that wants the Richard Mille to be seen on their wrist because they're a personality of some type and they're giving off a certain impression. You can like the watches. A lot of them are very cool, use unique materials, but generally the Richard Mille wearer is more of a casual person or someone that's come across money later in life, certainly more newer money, and they want to display this in some type of way. Rolling on to the JLC, the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso. Now, this is a little bit more nuanced. JLC is known for their movements. They've got over 1,000 different variations of movements that they've produced over the years. They're known as the watchmaker's watch brand because of this reason. They focus on the movements, the subtleties, and the very acute differences in design in their watches and movements. It's what they do. Subtle iterations, high quality, old world craftsmanship. Sure, they're under the Richemont brand, which has watered it down a little bit, in my opinion. But if you see someone wearing a Reverso, regardless of the Reverso, with maybe the exception of some of the old Squadras, okay, because they're a little bit different, let's put it that way. But the Reverso wearer is generally someone a little bit more sophisticated in their tastes. They enjoy watches. Perhaps they like the history and the heritage behind the craftsmanship, but they want something a little bit different, not seen on everyone, and still that old world heritage or feel. The JLC Reverso, I love the watch. Very cool indeed. And lastly, a vintage Rolex Datejust. Now, this one has become nuanced now because of just how popular watch collecting has become. But this kind of two-tone Datejust, when you saw that on a guy, you generally thought, okay, he retired, he cashed out a little bit from his retirement plan, and he plopped it down on a Rolex because he's made it in life. It's time to hit the golf course. It's time to relax and enjoy the fruits of his labor over the last 40 years. That used to be the thing. Now they're also worn by watch geeks like myself, watch collectors, and more hipsters, right? It's kind of cool to be in vintage right now, a big fan of vintage watches myself. So it can be very difficult to pinpoint or target the type of person wearing a vintage Datejust. So I would say that this person could literally be anyone. They could have inherited it. They could have just wanted a better deal on a Rolex watch than buying one new. Or perhaps they were that classic person that retired, got the two-tone Datejust, and now they're hitting the par 3 5 days a week. So what do you guys think here? Now, I was a little bit hard on some of these brands. This is just my opinion and the general opinion of people in the industry that work with so many collectors endlessly. These are generally the stereotypes. Now, they're not always true, so I'd love to see it and hear it in the comments below if you differ in opinions. It's always cool to chat with you guys there. And also, please do not forget to check out chronograbs.com, where you can sign up for a free account, be entered to win in that drawing, and also buy and sell watches at 0% commission. In a world where things can be unpredictable, like the economy, this is being offered right now free to you, so please take advantage of it if you are looking to get the best price selling your watch, or you'd like to get the best price buying a watch because there's 0 commissions, chronograbs.com. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time. You've been chatting with John Pate.